Welcome to the Topic of the Month with Kim Wardlow, an AINC original podcast. It's not easy being blind or going through vision loss, but we'll help you navigate these waters. Press on. Push forward. You've got this.
Welcome to the Topic of the Month, a podcast from the Audio Information Network of Colorado. I'm Kim Wardlow, the Executive Director there, and I'm your host. We're in the middle of our Topic of the Month of Advocacy, and we're joined again today by Lorraine Hutcheson from Colorado Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, where she has been serving individuals for many, many years who are unsighted or have low vision to be able to learn how to live their life with low vision or without sight. But one of the key skills really is advocacy. So I'm happy to have Lorraine here with me again today. The first episode, you're welcome to go back and listen to previous episodes. The first episode, we talked about advocacy in a general sense. Last week, we really focused a lot on transportation. And I wanted to just give Lorraine an opportunity. We had talked about in both weeks about some apps that might be helpful, and we touched on Be My Eyes and Seeing AI. And then there was one that neither of us could remember the name. Those two are free, but there's another one that you pay for, and it's Ira. Did you want to mention anything about that, Lorraine?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. It was driving me nuts. Yeah. Ira is very sophisticated use of artificial intelligence. You have an app with your phone, and it uses your camera. You can use it from help to deciding what shoes you need to wear, what clothes look good together. They even, and I'm a little bit weary about this, I certainly would be if I were aiding somebody via the iPhone camera, but they do offer help crossing roads. You can see where that could go, potentially be quite dangerous.
Yeah, it could be a little scary.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Especially if, they can't see what you can't see and so forth. But it's costlier. It's up to, I think we said up to $199 a month. Yeah.
Right. $29 to almost $200
a month. Right. Mm-hmm. But for people who travel a lot and certainly travel internationally, being available 24 hours would be really helpful. Going out in a place, in a hotel, in a city that you're unfamiliar with, finding the door, finding a cab, it's just wonderful. It's like having someone sitting on your shoulder telling you where to go. Mm-hmm. So in those, and okay, we say, well, are we being independent? Yes, you are, I think, especially if you're in a place that is totally unfamiliar, then yes, mm-hmm. you could certainly mm-hmm. use this service. So thank you for remembering, Kim.
Oh, sure. Well, and I think we all sighted or unsighted need a little extra help when we're in unfamiliar places. So
absolutely,
I agree with you. So today our focus is the workplace and advocacy there. And I guess we could start with just, I need to find a job. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for a job now as a person with low vision or no vision. And how do I go about finding a job? Is this different now than if I was a sighted person? Are there organizations that might be of help to me?
Oh, yeah. Well, certainly the organization that I work for, which is the mm-hmm. Division of Vocational Rehab, which is a state agency. And we are about employment. In the past, we were able to assist people to become more independent in their homes solely without the need for going back to work. But as we are with the Department of Labor and Employment now, we assist solely people who are interested in, could be part-time employment, full-time. And part of our process when somebody comes in after they're eligible is to get them into a plan for employment. But building up to that, we have them do a lot of exploration based on their needs, skills, capabilities, and, some things that are just deal breakers. They have to have transport and they have to have a certain amount of money. So we try to get competitive employment with the best, highest salary as possible. But we do help. The counselor helps, and we have all sorts of websites, the Virtual Job Shadow, Connecting Colorado, ONET. There are all sorts of websites that we use where you can do a lot of job exploration, find out what the market's like, what pay you get, what are your job duties. Let's say you want a job in nutrition, but you don't know exactly what kind of position. You can go to ONET or some of these other websites that I just mentioned to you, or your local workforce center, and they can help you with job exploration. And then once you get into a job, we have a plan. I would certainly work with a job coach if that's necessary. And I too help my clients, people that I serve, find jobs. And we mentioned difficulties in rural areas as opposed to bigger places like Denver. So I'm based in Grand Junction, but I serve a lot of other rural areas. It's much harder to find jobs. It's fewer jobs. And sometimes people have had less exposure to those with disabilities. So they might be more susceptible to stereotypic thinking when they see someone blind. Oh my God, I can't hire this person because they'll fall, or they'll need a lot of help, or they can't possibly do the job.
Yeah.
So,
or someone will have to show them where the bathroom is every time.
Well, right. Or
no, you do not.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to know where it is once, but then you find it. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, there are all these kind of misconceptions and fears really. But we do have job skills training program. I'm involved in one right now. And there was money several years ago allocated for what we call pre-ETS, which is pre-employment transition service. So really from about the age 15, individuals can come to Division of Vocational Rehab in the place in which you reside, and get help for your child that is still maybe in school, in high school. And you can get some
I didn't realize that.
Yes, you can get some job skills training, resume building. How do I go about researching a job? Can I do a job shadow? We help get paid work experiences, apprenticeships, all these kinds of things. So DVR is a very, very good organization to help you find a job.
Another one I've heard about is the Blind Institute of Technology. Have you worked with them at all?
Yes, I believe the owner of that is in Denver, I believe, and does help get some very good jobs for people, especially that have a lot of IT background and computer skills. I can tell you of an instance of someone who was in Grand Junction, extremely gifted. He graduated with honors and he was very skilled in the IT field. And he showed up for his appointment, for his interview, and the employer looked at him, saw the cane, and said, maybe you could work on our phones and answer phones. So straight away, didn't really even give the person a chance and made an assumption. So this is where we have to educate our employers too, that just because you see somebody with a cane or someone that's blind doesn't mean that they can't do the job. And actually, they'd probably be better employees in many cases because they're so grateful for the job. They're not going to leave. They'll stay put.
Have you found any difficulty as you're working with individuals with accessibility of job applications? So much, everything now is online, but that doesn't mean it's accessible.
Oh, yes. Goodness gracious. We have a long way to go since the ADA of 1990. No, everything should be accessible, but it is not. I was working with a young lady, it's probably 6 months ago here, wanted to work in a hospital. And she was hired. She's very skilled. But my gosh, the job that they wanted her to do was not accessible at all. And so I worked with her IT department, and he really didn't have the skills to work with the screen reader, JAWS in this case. And so we had to enlist the help of someone who is much more trained than I am in adaptive technology based in Denver. He's a vendor of ours. And he spent hours and hours, and we were still struggling. And she wanted to give up. And I just had to talk her into hanging in there. I said, as long as your employer knows that you're trying, we will get there. And we did eventually. But that is probably one of the biggest issues, Kim, is accessibility. Even in our own organization, there are some things that are more accessible than others. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What should a person expect or ask for? Employers may not, they may draw these assumptions. Oh, you're blind, so I guess you'll be on phones. Or they may not be aware of things like screen readers and adaptive technology, or be afraid that, oh, this is going to be so expensive for me to have all these accommodations. And yet the ADA says that you have to provide reasonable accommodations. So how would you advise someone going into a job? I know we touched briefly, I think, on the first week about individuals being afraid to tell their employer that they need accommodations, and dealing with that. Because if you get there on your first day and it's a surprise, that seems like that wouldn't be a great start either, to have your employer not realize you needed accommodations and find out on the day you start.
Yes. Well, I can talk about another instance of a young man that I've worked for a long time, who is a forester. And he's been with us for quite some time. We helped him get through school, right as from seniors high school, and then through college, and then to get his degree. And he did very well, worked very, very well with the adaptive equipment that he needed. And he worked with us to work on cover letters, and it was his decision to disclose his disability in his cover letter for all the jobs that he applied for. And he just didn't give up. He just kept trying and trying. And he has got an absolutely stellar attitude, very positive. And in his cover letter, he focused on how his vision impairment has made him more skilled and has benefited him throughout his academic career and his life. And so coming at it from that point of view, coupled with his good grades and his optimism, landed him the job because he didn't present it as an obstacle. He wasn't ashamed of it, but he, for want of a better word, just kind of celebrated his diversity, his disability, and how it's made him a better person and more capable, empathetic, and a troubleshooter, being creative, figuring out things. It's made him more creative. So, yeah, that is certainly something that we can help someone do. And if you have that kind of attitude, it will help you. And then, by the way, it's important that if the person comes to Division of Voc Rehab or the Workforce Center, we are there to help, but we need buy-in from the client, the person that we serve, to do their part in looking and holding up their end of the responsibility for finding a job. Yeah, it's ultimately is the responsibility of the person who's requiring the help. We will help, but they have to do their part too.
Sure. And then in terms of actual adaptive equipment or aids, I know here at AINC in the past, we had an individual who worked for us who needed to have a Braille, instead of a standard keypad for the computer, had a Braille, refreshable Braille note taker keypad. And he also used a screen reader, but having that Braille helped because he also had some hearing loss as well as vision loss. So if a person is working with DVR or maybe perhaps workforce, are there funding sources if an employer is worried about the cost of some of those things to be able to help with that? Especially I'm thinking of maybe as a smaller company.
Right. Well, right. Exactly. You mentioned hearing loss and vision. There is iConnect, and we, I think the woman who still heads that is Joanna Hirsch, but iConnect.com, I believe, does help with obtaining useful equipment, but you have, like Division of Voc Rehab, DVR, you do have to provide documentation of your disability in order to be accepted to be eligible for the program. But they have helped some of my people that I work with who are hearing and profoundly hearing impaired and blind to get equipment, and they will train them so as well. And then also there is ARDC. It's a Aging Resource for Disability, ADRC. They have access to funds for people over 50. And of course, we will, if it's related to the employment goal, they're getting into a job, we will. And depending on how much they make, if they're making a pretty good salary, they may have to contribute a certain amount, but we will make up the difference. But more than likely, more often what happens is DVR will pay for the equipment and training.
Okay. Do you see companies being willing to pay for accommodations for equipment or, screen reading software, things like that?
Well, yes, it's funny. In our first episode, I mentioned this woman working at a hospital, and the supervisor said, no, we can't help with anything. So we did provide her needs, and she's still working there. But then later on, several months later, somebody got in touch with her and with me and said, oh, we're prepared to come and look and see what this young lady needs as far as equipment is concerned. And I thought,
wow.
man, but it was 3 months late.
Yeah.
So that wasn't, and I said, gee, where were you when we need? Well, I know
when
I was
we needed it.
I was much more politically correct, but basically some departments were obviously not communicating with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I erred on the side of, let's not push this too much. I want this person to get the job. And so we're just going to get what she needs, period.
Mm-hmm.
There is the Howard Fund, which is the fund that was set up, I think, in the 30s, 1937 or something. And they have a board who decides on monies available for equipment, for going to conferences, things that DVR may not be able to pay for. There's the Howard Fund. And you can go online and find out about their application process.
So that's good. What other types of situations have you seen? Somebody has obtained a job, maybe they have some of the accessibility needs met in the company, but are there other challenges that you've seen someone with vision loss face just in their day-to-day working situation with other employees, with being able to carry out their job?
Well, depending on the culture, the work culture, sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes they feel a little bit isolated. They may be the only person with a disability at work, and not everybody's an extrovert. Hopefully somebody, a supervisor or someone else on their team, would take them under their wing and be inclusive as far as meeting up for lunch and so forth. I did have so there's that social piece.
Right.
It's very important, and this is part of my job when someone starts, to make sure they know in case of a fire or an active shooter situation or an emergency, that this individual knows how to get out and what is the protocol for an emergency situation. There's another individual that called me who's hearing and blind, hearing impaired and blind. Well, actually, she's profoundly deaf. And she called and said, I asked for notes to be provided to me at the staff meetings, and we don't have anybody there signing. And so I don't really know what's going on. She has an app where the person could ring her phone number and get connected immediately to an interpreter. So the person conducting the staff meeting could call and get connected to the interpreter, and then she would see on her phone the person interpreter would sign. So using those two methods, we were able to sort the accommodation issue out for her.
Have you ever worked with someone in a situation where the employer just said, no, that we're not doing this, and they weren't able to work there, or it became, a legal issue with the company?
Well, back at that hospital situation, he said no straight off the bat. And so DVR just went ahead and provided all the equipment for her. And many times that is what happens because they don't want to rock the boat. They're so grateful to get in the job, and they just don't want to ask too much. And I sometimes will say, gosh, we're happy to help, but do you think you might be able to provide the monitor or the laptop or part of it? And then maybe we can, try to negotiate a little bit. And
Right.
the other person that I talked to earlier in the session, I think last session, was the one who had the wonderful cover letters. He works for the federal government, and he was able to get what he needed, but he had to wait. So,
right.
Yeah. So sometimes you might not get it straight away, but you will eventually. But if you need it straight away in order to be able to do your job, well, by golly, we gotta just get it for you,
Right. Well, and as an employer myself, I would want to know, obviously with what we do, we're very much wanting to provide the accommodations that are needed. So if there was something that would be helpful that I didn't realize, I would actually appreciate my employees saying, well, this would really help me do my job better or more effectively. So I guess some of that is knowing the people you're working with and how they'll receive something, but you still need to advocate for yourself.
Yeah, but I think you brought up another good point, Kim, and that is it's really important to research a company and find out what their mission statement is. Go and visit the company. Do you know anybody that works there? What kind of reviews do they have? And certainly we want more employers like you that are out there that have that kind of attitude. That's just wonderful. And they are out there. But that's where you can, if you're looking for a job, and this is part of our job skills training program, we ask people, if you have a dream job, we'll research it. Find out all of these things before you even think about an interview and applying to work there.
And I think that's something that's important to everybody when you're looking for a job. But certainly if you can find out a little bit more about a company and if they are receptive to accommodations, that would be helpful. Well, Lorraine, you've given us so much information. This has been wonderful on not just once you have your job and getting accommodations, but how do you even go about that? And some great resources, certainly DVR itself, for being able to assist people in finding a job that fits their skills. So, and hopefully we've covered some scenarios and things that individuals listening may have dealt with, and that they'll find the program helpful to them. So if you do have comments, if something was helpful to you, or if there's something that we didn't cover that you wish we'd asked, we could follow up on that. You can contact us through our website. That's aincolorado.org/podcast-guest. You can give us comments on this podcast. Also, please know especially if you're new to AINC and our podcast, please know we also have 2 other podcasts, After Sight, which is hosted by Penn Street and looks at life after vision loss and interviewing a whole variety of very interesting people. And I'm sure you'll enjoy that. And this month, we have launched Blindsight, hosted by Bill Lundgren, who is a licensed therapist, and he is also interviewing other professionals looking at various aspects of behavioral and mental health and diving deeper into that issue, which was our topic of the month last month. So we'll have one more week of advocacy topic of the month, and Lorraine will be joining us again for that, and we'll be looking at the medical situations in the medical arena and how to deal with situations that may come up in a doctor's office, in an emergency room, those types of things. So that will be posted next week. Thank you for listening to Topic of the Month. Thank you for your comments.